Hello, and welcome to this video on the 5 unusual facts of the Colosseum and the history of the Colosseum. I just got back from Italy, so um, I'm making some travel videos related to some of the cool things I saw in Rome. So we start off with 5 unusual facts of the Colosseum. The first is that the Colosseum was deliberately built over the filled-in artificial lake of Nero's Domus Aurea, a palace complex that turned an imperial pleasure ground into a public arena as a political gesture to win back political favor. Number 4, before the hypogeum was added, the arena could be flooded to stage mock naval battles called the naumachiae, meaning that the same building was used as both a gladiatorial arena and a temporary artificial lake. In number 3, the hypogeum was a 2-level maze of tunnels, cages, and 80 vertical shafts with elevators and trapdoors that could launch animals, scenery, and fighters into the arena almost instantly. And number 2, another unusual fact is that its crowd flow design with 80 numbered entrances and carefully planned circulation routes allowed tens of thousands of spectators to enter and exit far more quickly than many modern stadiums, in fact. And number 1, at major events, sometimes food was free and wooden balls containing tokens for prizes such as money and even an apartment could be dropped into the crowd, turning shows into massive imperial giveaways. Let's hit some basic facts of the Colosseum. The Colosseum is the largest ancient amphitheater ever built and is the largest amphitheater in the world. It was affected by earthquakes and stone robbers, and the Colosseum held 65,000 spectators. It was used for gladiatorial contests and public spectacles that included animal hunts, executions, and battle reenactments. The Colosseum is built of wood, travertine limestone, tuff or volcanic rock, tiles, and brick-faced Roman concrete. The outer wall is made of travertine stone. The Colosseum is renowned as a symbol of imperial Rome and was listed as one of the new 7 wonders of the world. It was inducted as a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1980. Next, the Colosseum was used for gladiatorial shows, and these were called munera. They were hosted by private individuals. They were popular demonstrations of power and family prestige. The venatio is an animal hunt using many kinds of animals imported from Africa and the Middle East. These included rhinoceroses, hippopotamuses, elephants, giraffes, aurochs, wisons, lions, panthers, leopards, bears, tigers, crocodiles, and ostriches. Battles and hunts were staged with elaborate sets. Trajan celebrated his victories in Dacia in 107 with spectacles involving 11,000 animals, 10,000 gladiators over the course of 123 days. Executions would also be staged, and those condemned to death would be sent into the arena naked and unarmed to face the beasts of death, which would literally tear them apart to pieces. Sea battles during the early days of the Colosseum, the naumachiae, where simulated sea battles were held. There was an account of a reenactment of a famous sea battle between Korean Greeks and the Corinthians. Historians have debated how the arena could have been waterproof. Possibly the Colosseum held a floodable channel down its central axis, which was later replaced by the hypogeum. Let's talk a little bit about the construction of the Colosseum. The Rome was devastated by a great fire in 64 CE, and Nero seized that area for his personal domain. He built the sprawling Domus Aurea on the site, in front of which he created an artificial lake surrounded by pavilions, gardens, and porticos. The existing Aqua Claudia aqueduct was extended to supply the water to the area, and a gigantic bronze statue of Nero was set up at the entrance. The lake of the Domus Aurea was filled in and reused for the Flavian amphitheater. Gladiatorial schools were built with the former grounds of the Domus Aurea. Vespasian's decision to build the Colosseum on the site of Nero's lake can be seen as a gesture of returning it to the people where Nero had taken it for his own use. Here we can see a map of ancient Rome, and the Flavian amphitheater is actually pretty well centrally situated in Rome. In contrast to other amphitheaters, who were often built on the outskirts of a city, the Colosseum was constructed in the city's center, placing it both symbolically and geographically at the heart of Rome. The Colosseum was funded by opulent spoils taken from Roman wars. An inscription on the site reads, "The Emperor Vespasian ordered this new amphitheater to be erected from his general share of booty. Slaves and prisoners of war were brought back to Rome and contributed to the workforce needed to construct the Colosseum. Teams of Roman builders, engineers, artists, painters, and decorators undertook the tasks." The construction of the Colosseum began under the rule of Emperor Vespasian in 2072 CE, and he built up to the third story. The top level was finished after his death by his successor and heir, Titus. It was completed in 80 CE. Over 9,000 wild animals were killed during the inaugural games of the amphitheater. Commemorative coinage was also issued celebrating the inauguration. Modifications were made by Emperor Domitian, who constructed the hypogeum tunnels that housed animals and slaves, and he added a gallery on top of the Colosseum to increase its seating capacity. The three emperor patrons are together known as the Flavian dynasty. The amphitheater was thus named the Flavian Amphitheater for its association with their name. In 217, the Colosseum was damaged by a major fire which destroyed the wooden upper levels of the amphitheater, and it was not fully repaired until 2040, 23 years later. Aurea banned gladiator fights in 399, and restoration work to repair earthquake damage occurred in 443, 484, and 508. The arena was used for contests into the 6th century, and animal hunts continued until at least 523. Next, we'll take a look at the structure of the Colosseum. The Colosseum was architected as two back-to-back theaters. Its elliptical plan is 615 feet long, or 189 meters, 510 feet wide, or 156 meters, and encompassed an area of 6 acres, or 24,000 square meters. The height of the outer wall is 157 feet, or 48 meters, and the perimeter measures 1,788 feet, or 545 meters. The central arena is an ellipse measuring 287 feet or 87 meters long and 180 feet wide or 55 meters wide. It's surrounded by a 15-foot high or 5-meter high wall above which rose tiers of seating. The outer wall's facade comprises 3 stories surmounted by a podium on which stands a tall attic, both of which are pierced by windows interspersed at regular intervals. Each of the arches in the 2nd and 3rd floor arcades frame statues honoring divinities and classical mythology figures. 240 massed corbels were positioned around the top of the attic, supporting a retractable awning known as the velarium that kept the sun and rain off spectators. The velarium was a net-like canvas that covered 2/3 of the arena and was sloped to catch the wind and provide breeze for the audience. As was previously stated, the Colosseum used a crowd flow design to fill or evacuate the venue quickly. Modern stadia use similar solutions to deal with the same problem. The amphitheater was ringed by 80 entrances at ground level, and each entrance, exit, and staircase was numbered. All 4 axial entrances were richly decorated with painted stucco reliefs. Spectators were given tickets in the form of numbered pottery shards, which directed them to the appropriate section and row. They accessed their seats via vomitoria, which were passageways that opened into a tier of seats below or behind. These quickly got people to their seats, and at the end of the event or evacuation, could permit their exit quickly. The name vomitoria derived from the Latin word for rapid discharge, from which the English derives the word vomit. The interior seating of the Colosseum estimates that it could sit about 50 to 65,000 people, and they sat in a tiered arrangement that reflected the rigidly stratified nature of Roman society. Special boxes were provided for the emperor and the Vestal virgins, providing the best views of the arena. Flanking them at the same level was a podium for the senatorial class. Some senators had reserved seating, their names being carved into the stonework. The tier above the senators, known as the Manium Premium, was occupied by the non-senatorial noble class or knights. The next level up, the Manium Secundum, was originally reserved for ordinary Roman citizens or plebeians, and the lower part, the Imum, was for wealthy citizens, while the upper part, the Summum, was for poor citizens. The Manium Secundum in the Legnis was added at the very top during the reign of Domitian. This comprised a gallery for the common poor, slaves, and women. It was standing room only or had steep benches. Gravediggers and actors and former gladiators were banned from the Colosseum. Each tier was divided into sections, or the menania, by curved passages and low walls, and were subdivided into cunae, or wedges, by the steps and aisles from the vomitoria. Each row, or gradus, of seats was numbered, permitting each individual seat to be exactly designated by gradus, cunus, and number. The Colosseum arena measured 272 feet by 157 feet and had a wooden floor covered by sand, an elaborate underground structure called the hypogeum, or meaning underground. The hypogeum was not part of the original structure. It was built by Emperor Domitian and had a two-level subterranean network of tunnels and cages beneath the arena where gladiators and animals were held before the contest began. 80 vertical shafts provided quick access to the arena for caged animals and concealed scenery pieces. Large hinged platforms called hegmata provided the access for elephants and larger structures. Hypogeum elevators and hydraulics raised and lowered scenery and props, as well as lifting caged animals to the arena surface. The hypogeum was constructed at Domitian's behest that put the end to the naumachiae, or naval battles. The hypogeum was connected to tunnels to points outside the Colosseum. Animals and performers were brought through the tunnels from nearby stables. Tunnels also permitted the emperor and his Vestal virgins to enter and exit the Colosseum, bypassing the crowds. The gladiators' barracks at the Ludus Magnus were connected by those tunnels, and the Ludus Magnus, or Domus Vectiliana, was also known as the Great Gladiatorial Training School, and it was the largest gladiatorial school in Rome. It was built by the Emperor Domitian in the late 1st century CE, and Ludus Magnus was an arena where gladiators could live, eat, and undergo gladiatorial training in preparation for fighting in the gladiatorial games. So I hope you've enjoyed this overview of the Colosseum. You learned 5 unusual facts and a little bit of its history and structure and how it's made, and other interesting tidbits of information. So I'll be making a series of videos about my trip to Rome, Italy. So be sure to check out the videos on the Vatican City, the Pantheon, and the Roman Forum. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.